Welcome to SBRForum.com. In this video, we're taking a look at Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Now, to me, I might be in the minority. Apparently, everybody loves San Antonio in this series. Everyone loves them as early as Game 1, too. And I think that, to me, I like the Miami Heat, and the reasoning is quite simple. I've watched how the Spurs have played. I've watched how the Heat have played, and there's no question in my mind that the Heat are going to have to match that sort of want factor for the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs want revenge. The Spurs are going to want this championship more than the Heat. At least I think. I think it's hard to match that hunger from the Spurs when you consider that they got burned last year, whereas the Heat have now won 2 straight. But you know, there's a lot of other factors that are going to balance this out. I think this is really one of those factors that looks great on paper, but once the games start, not as big of a factor in my mind. What I mean is, you take a look at the Spurs. Now, last year, at this point in the playoffs, the Spurs were getting more points per game from Tony Parker, more from Tim Duncan, more from Kawhi Leonard, more from Danny Green. That's pretty much their entire starting cast. Manu Ginobili, I think, is the one player that's playing better this postseason than last year. But when you take a look at those factors, all those guys have dropped off. Now, that's not a huge drop-off when you consider that the Spurs, they haven't fallen off offensively. It's more of a rebalancing. Their bench now contributes maybe a little bit more, you might say. But I think it's a big issue because you're not getting as much from your stars. As mentioned, Duncan, Parker, and remember at this point last year, we were talking about Kawhi Leonard as taking that next step, joining maybe sort of the all-star cast. He looked like he was on that cusp in the postseason. That's been far from the case this postseason as he's dropped off as well. Then you got Tony Parker. Yes, he's probably going to be fine for Game 1, but we don't know how good he is. This ankle injury has lingered. It was bad enough that he wasn't able to play the second half of a clincher in the Western Conference Final, Game 6. I mean, the Spurs needed him to put the Thunder to bed. Obviously, they didn't need him in the end, but they're going for. It was such an important game, and Parker couldn't play. It's not like they're playing Atlanta in mid-March, and Parker playing or not playing it wasn't a big factor. He's injured that much that he can't play the second half against Oklahoma City. That's a concern. Even if he plays, and I fully expect him to play, not going to be 100%. And remember, again, he was one of the key reasons why that series went 7 games in the finals last year. If he's not 100%, that's a big concern for the San Antonio Spurs. Beyond that, you got the Heat. I think they're playing a little bit better. Dwayne Wade looks refreshed in my eyes. Played great against the Indiana Pacers. He's been good all playoffs long. This is a guy that needed some rest, and the Heat got some rest in between the conference finals and the NBA finals. On top of that, he's been rested throughout the year. He's had fresh legs. LeBron James looks great. I don't think there's any question marks there. I mean, maybe Durant wins MVP, but James is right up there with him. And I also like Chris Bosh. This is a guy who gets criticized heavily. But this guy really stepped up in the latter stages of the series against the Pacers. I think he can cause some problems for the Spurs. If he plays well, there's no way that the Spurs win this series. If the big three play great, the Spurs have no shot. They need to cut off Bosh and force Dwayne Wade to be a jump shooter and let LeBron James get his. If those 3 guys are all clicking, the Spurs have no shot. Anyways, what am I getting at here? Game 1, Spurs are a small favorite. I can't bet the Spurs until I see Parker play a full game, play healthy. So really, I like the Heat plus the points here. I know there's the revenge factor. I know this is almost like a do-or-die situation for the Spurs right off the bat, but I still like the Heat. Better rested, healthier, younger, more athletic. The Spurs have tapered off from their performance from last year. I know they're hungry, but I don't know that that's going to be enough once that ball is thrown in the air and the tip-off takes place. So that's it for our pick right here on SBRForum.com for Game 1. I like the Heat plus the points. I expect them to play pretty well in this series. It's still going to be a long one, but I think Heat take this in 6, starting with Game 1. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.